Hey guys, welcome to the Good and the Beautiful review that I said I was going to be coming to you with. I feel like this is a little bit of an ultimate review in the way that we have tried a number of different products from the Good and the Beautiful. My youngest has been doing the kindergarten math. My first grader that's also in school has been doing some of the first grade math. My 11-year-old has been doing the grade 5 language arts and math. My almost high schooler is doing the high school language arts. Other years we have tried some of the other ages in between with language arts and with math. We have almost tried every single grade at this point. We've also done some of the science. So I feel like we've done quite a bit of the Good and the Beautiful, but we've never finished anything. So I want to give a little bit of a review today, giving some pros, some cons, what we're doing kind of going forward, and hopefully this will be helpful to anyone that's kind of thinking about using it or curious about it. I am going to be sharing some different overlays of like flip throughs of the book to kind of emphasize my point. She's not kindergartner. My preschooler and my first grader, their stuff I'm just printing off of the website for free. I bought the books for my 6th grader who's doing the 5th grade books, as well as my 9th grader who's doing the high school books. For the most part for this review, I'm going to be kind of focusing on the 5th grade books because I feel like they are kind of the format that most of the grades cover, but I will talk a little bit about the other grades as well, and most of the images and the video that I'm going to be putting up will be the 5th grader stuff. He is my child that this year we will probably be getting diagnosed with dysgraphia, so pardon the messiness in his work. He tries. I'm just scared as a homeschool parent that people are going to come after me or put down my kid and say we're not doing a good job. We are. He's doing great. I feel like I need to put out that disclaimer. Because we had never done much of the Good and the Beautiful, we've like started a little bit here and there. I wanted to put my 6th grader into the 5th grade books for that reason, as well as the fact that the 5th grade books do watercolor for the art, and he was really interested in watercolor, so moving him down a grade seemed like a good option. Okay. So we are going to go into pros and cons, like I said. First, I want to have a very quick little rant about the kindergarten level. So my preschooler is doing the kindergarten math, which I have such issues with the math and the language arts. The kindergarten math, they start out assuming your kid doesn't even know like what a number is. They learn 0, 1, 2, 3, like basic numbers they get to know. They learn how to write a plus sign and an equal sign. But then on the flip side, the language arts, your kid needs to be able to read before doing the kindergarten language arts, or at least have all their letter names and letter sounds figured out. To me, this is such a huge discrepancy between the two. Some kids will get one and struggle with the other, but it seems like they should kind of be on the same level. If you want to be teaching the numbers starting at the basic, then you should be doing the same for the letters. And so far my preschooler is doing the kindergarten math. I feel like the kindergarten math is more of a preschool level, and the language arts we haven't even touched. We're doing the Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons first before I really look into the language arts, since she doesn't know all her letter sounds yet. So that is a little bit of a rant there, and it doesn't matter. A kid does not have to be the exact grade level that they are in each subject. I get that, but I feel like a kindergartner can't even start with their language arts until they pretty much know how to read. So that seemed a little strange to me. That was a weird choice. I feel like whatever their kindergarten language arts is, I feel like that would be more of a grade 1 thing. By grade 1, you should know all your letter sounds and stuff, and if kids are advanced, then they can move up a level. But a little bit of a rant there, and also their preschool stuff you can't print at home. So I didn't want to purchase any of the preschool stuff for my preschooler. Figured we would do the reading kind of on our own using a different format. That's very strange to me. Okay, now we're gonna get into the pros and cons of like most of the curriculum. Like I said, I'm kind of gonna be focusing mostly on the 5th grade stuff, but it kind of goes over both. We've done 5th grade math and language arts, and so I feel like that's just gonna be where we're gonna focus for the most part. Pros, I love that they have the curriculum online and you can print it yourself. We have done this many times with different grade levels. It probably kind of says something that we've never really gotten very far before we quit, but I like that you can see what you're getting into. I'm realizing that more curriculums should have some sample pages, sample lessons, or something like that. I also, as someone that lives in Canada, shipping is expensive here, and like for a whole month right by Christmas our postal system was shut down because they were on strike. So if I can print something from home, even if it isn't cheaper, like I still appreciate that. And because I'm a bit of a rebel, I like to just kind of find out about something and print it off that day. I don't want to wait for it to come in the mail. So I really appreciate that The Good and the Beautiful, you can print stuff from home. Not all of their stuff is up for free, but a lot of it is. So definite positive there. One of the things I love hate, but I'll put it in love for now, the open and go-ness of their curriculum is really good, especially for certain seasons. Maybe if you have, like, if you want this to be something your kids do independently, if you don't have time to prep, if you've just had a new baby, or like us this year, we just moved and we were getting to know a whole new province, whole new homeschool system. The open and go-ness was really helpful. It has its negatives though. Another like pro slash con, I liked slash didn't that geography and art is included with the language arts. It was cool, but this will also end up on the cons list as well. I thought I had more for pros, but I guess one of the things that I had on the pro list was actually supposed to go to the cons list. So that's all that I have for the pros. I mean, there are some nice things about it. Like I like the lessons, but I feel like most of this stuff kind of ends up in the cons. Like I can't start talking about the positive without kind of getting into the negative. So let's get into the cons, because there is definitely more of them. The first one, and the like most important one to me, is my kids have been completely uninspired. And that really hurts me because I want my kids to love learning, even if they don't love everything they're learning every day. I kind of want them to be excited to do school and, you know, be excited to see what they're going to learn today. And this has sucked the joy out. My 9th grader really enjoys language arts. She wants to be a writer and an editor. She loves that kind of thing. But even she feels a bit discouraged with The Good and the Beautiful. And it's not sparking that fire for her in her that I was hoping it would. So that's really discouraging, disheartening, definitely a bit of a red flag there. So once I realized that was what was happening, that's when I've decided that we're going to be making all these changes I was talking about last week, but I'll get into that in a bit. A con for me is that everybody works on everything individually. So I think once a kid gets to the high school level, I do understand that they are going to go off and work independently. They should. But when you are homeschooling multiple grades, especially in the younger years, it's so hard to do an entire curriculum with each grade separately. I don't love everything together. Like I don't want to swing all the way to the gather round side of things. I also struggled with that. But because like language arts has grammar, spelling, book study, art, geography, like every kid has all of that separate. And so then we have not been spending any like together family time, learning time, and I miss that. I miss that a lot. I have also found The Good and the Beautiful to be quite advanced, especially in some areas. And then because every subject comes kind of in its own package, there's not as much wiggle room. You can't kind of like pick and choose. So that's been a little bit frustrating as well. And I do think some of the concepts, especially in the math, they move very quickly without a lot of time to practice them. I think the math lessons are a little too long for each lesson, and then we're like moving on to a different one. I think they should split their lessons up a bit. That would be very helpful. And then speaking of quite advanced, there's also quite an emphasis on grammar. I feel like the grammar stuff is very advanced for the grade, and I don't know if that's normal for other grammar curriculum type stuff. We hadn't done any before this year, but I know my experience teaching in the classroom and being in the classroom myself, we didn't cover this kind of grammar stuff in school. And I mean, Canadian schools are supposed to be pretty decent, but I feel like grammar was not emphasized as much as it is in this curriculum. And then because, you know, the language arts especially has, you know, the spelling, the grammar, the geography, the art, and the book study all in one package. That's assuming your child is at the same grade level for every one of those subjects slash subjects there. Whereas a kid might be farther or, you know, behind in art or geography, or, you know, they might be terrible at spelling but really good at reading, and it's a struggle for me to assume that a kid is gonna be on the same page for each of those subjects and like sub-subjects. So that's been a bit difficult. I kind of wish that out of all the subjects that they've crammed into the language arts, I wish that instead of the art they would have included a history, because they kind of talk a little bit about history through the art, and I just think that kind of would have been better well served. Although I do like history to be sometimes a family subject as well, so I kind of maybe am a little waffly on that one. My kids have really complained about the books that they have to read as part of the curriculum. The characters, the emphasis is very moralistic. The characters in many of the books are perfect and don't make bad decisions, because this is the one area where I've really noticed the Mormonism come into play in this curriculum. I went into the curriculum knowing that it was by a Mormon and kind of had some of that influence, so I was looking for it. And it wasn't until my kids started complaining about the books that they were reading that I was like, okay, here is a place where I can see it, because for Mormons there's a lot of emphasis on looking good from the outside, not sharing when things get too hard, or, you know, that really moralistic kind of viewpoint. And that is what the books are. And so it's a little bit sad. I mean, I'm glad that my kids noticed this. That was, especially my 6th grader, I was very impressed that he commented on it, and they want to see kids that have struggles like them and see them overcome them. They don't want to see kids that are perfect from the beginning, that never change. So yeah, definitely they have not loved those books. Although my 9th grader is reading one now. She said she is enjoying it. It's got a couple short stories in it. And then overall, I feel like the lessons just take way too long. So I am trying to keep in mind that my 6th grader definitely struggles more with writing. So there's been a lot of times where I'm helping him with the writing, and sometimes when he's doing it himself, it will take longer. But the language arts would often take him over an hour, and the math would take an hour plus. And we're trying to fit other subjects into our days and into our weeks as well. And that's just not feasible, especially when I needed to be there to help so much. I can only help so much for each kid, and then I've got other kids to do stuff with as well. So overall, The Good and the Beautiful has not been the greatest success for us. I'm gonna share kind of where we're gonna go from here. That will help you see what parts we've liked and which parts we haven't. First of all, I'm gonna keep my preschooler continuing to do the kindergarten math. That's working, plus I'm just printing it out, so you know, I can stop printing it when we're not enjoying it anymore. It is a little bit difficult because I don't have the manipulatives kit that comes with it, so there's some parts of the lesson we can't do. And also, it really annoys me how much color is in these books. When I'm printing at home, like I have a great printer, but I just keep thinking, oh, if they had less color, this could save me a lot of money. So I would like it if they had less color. My first grader will still do the grade 1 math at times, like he is in school full time. So we don't do it very often, but he really loves math. So that's one of the things we can do on school at home days that he really enjoys. My high schooler is going to finish out her year using the high school year 1 unit books that they're doing. Yeah, it's just too bad she's not loving it as much as I had hoped she would, but she wants to finish it. So she's going to keep going. The biggest changes will be with my 5th grader. We are kind of picking and choosing. With math, for the last few weeks, we've actually switched back over to Learn Math Fast. So during the summer, he kind of like hit a point with Learn Math Fast where it was just a little too hard for him. So I thought if we go with the Good and the Beautiful, we can kind of go back and fill in some of those spots and keep going. We might jump back into the Good and the Beautiful. Like we might switch back and forth as needed, but right now Learn Math Fast is going a lot better for him. I do have a review sharing my thoughts as we first started that. Now we've been using it for 8-9 months, and that's still what my 9th grader is using, and then my 6th grader is back at that. So we will continue with Learn Math Fast until we get to a part where I feel like, okay, we've kind of reached his limit for right now. Then maybe we'll dive back into the Good and the Beautiful a little bit. I'm going to be playing that by ear. For his language arts, we are going to be picking and choosing what works for us. So I've already decided that I do like the art, and he wanted to do the watercolor. So I'm going to put art down as its own subject. Art is no longer part of language arts, which it really shouldn't have been anyway. So we're going to do that about once a week. There's not very many art projects throughout the book, but we're going to do it once a week until he's done. And then for language arts, we are going to I don't know if I should proof the rest of the books that he's supposed to read. Maybe I'll do that, and then if there's any that I think that he'll enjoy, I'll get him to read those. And then for spelling and grammar, we're definitely going to be looking into some other options. You guys gave me a ton of suggestions in last week's video. I'm looking up a bunch. So I'm deep diving into all the research. Bonus points for all the ones that I can print at home, like I said before. This week we're kind of just, I'm looking at the Good and the Beautiful lessons and telling him which parts to do, but we're going to be making some changes there for sure. And then we're also going to be doing some book study stuff, probably its own thing, also looking up some resources there that you guys shared. I might even try a Brave Writer book study. I've never done that with him before, so that would be an option. Definitely just kind of in the phase where I'm researching all the things, trying to figure out what would work best, what we can try with the lowest commitment for right now. Then if we find out that they do work, we can kind of dive in a little bit more. Then the only thing that we don't really have something in the works for is geography, because I'm not keen on the geography that's being taught in the Good and the Beautiful anyway right now. It's just really boring, and I love geography and I want to make it fun. So we will figure out something for that as well. I may update either via video what we choose to do, or in my newsletter, which I'll leave linked below. Like I mentioned last week, I moved my newsletter over to Substack, so if you aren't signed up already, definitely do so. I will be sharing kind of our favorite resources and stuff, and as I go through more of this stuff that you guys have shared with me, hopefully I'll have some really great recommendations. If you have more recommendations for me, leave them below. I'm always looking forward to seeing what you guys have loved and seeing if they work for us as well. Thanks for being here.